Hey, what's up, everybody? Sean Ogle here. Welcome to another Location Rebel case study. I think I've done like 12 of these now, and I have that exact same intro every time. I think I need to get a little more creative with it. But I'm really excited because we have someone who's just joined here in the last like 8 or 9 months. She's had a lot of success. Natalie Stickel. That's how you pronounce your last name, right? Stickel?
Yes, that's it.
Thank you so much for being here and taking a little bit of time to share your story with us.
No worries, Sean. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So let's jump in. So you joined this last April of 2016, and
Yeah.
I know that right around that time you had just gotten back from a pretty exciting time in your life. So tell me about the trip you took. Tell me what that was all about.
Definitely. So prior to the trip, I actually was working for the state for about 2 years, and it was a great job, but I was just really unhappy there. I was making okay money, but I didn't want that kind of security, and it was very, very demanding. So I was saving up that whole time in order to take a trip that I dreamed about for many years, and I finally made the leap. I actually quit that job, went traveling with my partner across country, and then overseas to numerous places: Bali, Thailand, Australia, New Zealand. It's gone for about 5 months, and it was amazing. And so obviously on a trip like that, you're doing a lot of soul searching. You are learning about so many different paths and people and places that you could be, and you just encounter so many different experiences that it makes you rethink a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So were you terrified when you left your job, like to go take this big adventure, or was it like, I'm ready, let's do this, let's see what happens?
I mean, there's definitely going to be some nerves there. Like, without a doubt, I think it would be weird if you didn't. But,
yeah, for sure.
But no, I had saved up a bunch of money just in case, things didn't work out as planned, or, there was an emergency or something like that. So I felt financially secure for like a few months.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a clue what I was going to do after that.
Okay,
and it was nerve-wracking.
Yeah, so let's fast forward to that. So you took the trip, you guys traveled around, you backpacked, you camped all over the U.S., and then you went to Australia, you went to Bali, you went to Thailand, you went to all of some of my favorite places. I've still never been to Australia, so I want to hear more about that at some point.
Yeah.
And you said while you were traveling, that was how you first stumbled across Location Rebel. So tell me about how you first came in touch with the brand and what that was all about.
Definitely. So I think I stumbled across on other blogs some of your earlier posts about you being in Thailand and your story initially, because I was in Thailand when I discovered your blog. So that kind of makes sense. And I had bought an online course before after doing some research and reading a lot of testimonials. And I did learn a lot from it, but it wasn't what I expected as far as blueprints and just having concrete steps for me to take went.
Totally.
And so I'm a writer, and I thoroughly enjoy writing all kinds of things. It's my love.
Yeah.
And so I read about Location Rebel more and more. I read all the blog posts on the website and just learned a lot about SEO. And I thought, this seems really legitimate. This is definitely something that I could handle right off the bat, first of all.
Yep.
It wouldn't be overwhelming. And, it's not as overwhelming as in-depth web design for somebody who doesn't code, and things
For
like
sure.
that. That's a little intimidating.
Yeah.
So I just, I sat on it while I was traveling. And then when I came home, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to invest in myself and give this a go. And so I started out with the SEO blueprint.
The SEO blueprint or the SEO writing blueprint?
Sorry, the SEO writing blueprint. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that a little bit because, it was funny. I remember the first time I heard about SEO writing, it was when I was living in Thailand, and there was a girl named Sarah who was living in Bangkok at the same time, and that's how she was making money. She was making like $2,000, working 20 hours a week, just kind of writing these SEO writing posts.
Wow.
And she's like, it's great. It allows me to travel, it allows me to do my thing. They're fairly no stress. But now, you fast forward 6 or 7 years, and there's a lot of people that are kind of like, well, does SEO writing still work? And I generally advocate it as one of the best starting points because it's skills you already have. It's fairly easy to find the work. So what's been your experience? Have you found that you've been able to actually find SEO writing work? And when you first started back in April, were you able to find work pretty quickly?
Yeah, actually, I started with the blueprint, and I found that just creating my own samples was a really, really helpful tip. So as soon as I got to that part in the blueprint, I really love, first of all, how you keep reiterating, like, stop right here and do this action before you go any further. So I was like, yeah, shut my computer. I thought about it for a while. I started writing notes first, and then I just, got out my word processor and just wrote 3 SEO writing samples about topics that interested me. And things that would make me seem a little versatile. So different topics. And I just started getting on Upwork, and I had a profile that kind of got defunct because I never really used it, and I was discouraged by a lot of people from using Upwork. Like, it's way too competitive. You're never
Totally.
going to find clients. It's way too saturated. So I had a profile that I revamped, added those samples on there, and I just started pitching to people. I made a goal of pitching to like 3 people a week, which isn't very many, but I was like, this is all very new to me.
And
I
it's
just want
forward progress. It's like those, one of the things I talk a lot about is like kind of the milestone mindset. It's like, don't have these big lofty goals, but have
yes.
like smaller chunks that are more manageable so you can actually see progress as opposed to being like, oh, I'm not a millionaire yet. What's going on?
Definitely. So that's how I started. And I think what really got me success on Upwork is I actually got not the first, but I think the very second job that I pitched to on Upwork. And I did that by, first of all, focusing on my niche. So I write, I've worked for various environmental organizations, and conservation is something that's really close to my heart. So I searched for conservation, environmental writing, eco-friendly products, things like that.
Totally.
And travel writing. So I just searched particularly for those niches, and I just pitched to everybody I could find. I checked out the websites if they were available. You know, I used people's first names, which is a small but
Yep.
seemingly, you know, what should be obvious when you're pitching to people. And I made very personalized pitches, and I found something that I could relate to and tie back to them with. And I had a lot of success with that, but those were all just kind of one-off jobs. Like, hey, we want you to write this blog post for $15. And I'm like, okay, this is great. This is a start, but this is not going to pay the bills. And it's a lot of work for $15.
Absolutely. So you started with that.
Yeah.
You got in Location Rebel. You found that it was, you know, more step by step and allowed you to actually kind of, you know, follow a template as opposed to just giving you a bunch of information you weren't sure, you know, how to act with.
Right.
From there, how did you go from just making those $15, you know, one-off articles to actually making, you know, something closer to a living around it?
Well, Upwork was helpful because I was getting a portfolio, right? So I've had some things behind my name. And then the Location Rebel forums were actually where I got my first 2 long-term clients. So there's the job board in the forums, which has just been infinitely valuable to me. And I very quickly just found 2 posts of people who were looking for SEO writers. They just said, you know, I'd love to hire other Location Rebels to send me your samples. And I did that, and I'm still working with one of those clients today. So that's been months.
That's awesome. So let's talk real quick, because that's something that I've heard other people say, and frankly, I agree. I think that the forums are one of the most valuable aspects of the community. You know, we've got nearly 2,000 members in there, and they've all people that have paid and kind of committed themselves to be there, which I think sets it apart from a lot of other communities. So what's been your experience with the forums? Like, aside from getting the work, have you found it to be a place that you can get support? Like, when you were first getting started, were you able to ask questions and get feedback? Like, how's it gone for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's easily searched, so that if I can't find the existing content in the blueprints or an existing forum topic, then I can just start my own. And I mean, every time I've started my own forum topic, just asking a question, whether it's like, hey, what accounting app should I use? You know, how do I deal with clients? Anything like that. As soon as I post a topic or reply to an existing thread, I've gotten a response like within a day. And it's always something really valuable.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that that's one of those things that, you know, there's lots of forums out there, and there's lots of, like, a lot of people are using Facebook groups these days, and I've thought about that. I've thought about making that shift, but I like the fact that you can go back and search the forums. It's like we've got nearly 5 years of content, so pretty much like every question that you're going to want to know is in there somewhere, and if it's not, like you said, you can get a pretty quick response. So that was April. So you like pretty much started making money, you know, right away. You found some longer term clients. You know, now we're in December of 2016. So where are things at now? What are you working on? You know, 8 months later, are you still as excited about your business as you were back then? Like, where are things at?
I mean, there's definitely ups and downs when you start to go off on your own and do things like this. I think the number one struggle that I've had is a little bit of procrastination or just time management.
Yeah.
I tend to underestimate how long things are going to take.
Hmm.
And so I'll just be like, oh, well, I can just do this, and I'll put that off a little longer. Or even if I get started working on it right away, it just takes more hours than I thought it was going to. So that's definitely been a struggle, and one of the biggest downs in the ups and downs. But and like we were talking about earlier, just putting too much on your plate. So when the
Yeah.
opportunities start to roll in, it's really, really exciting, and you're like, I don't have the I don't have
Don't
the
the
audacity.
bandwidth.
Yeah, I don't have the bandwidth, but like I shouldn't have the audacity to turn things down yet is kind of your mindset. And you just want to take on everything you possibly can because you don't know when you're going to get another opportunity necessarily. So
Absolutely.
then
It
you
gets,
overload your plate really quickly.
and it's tough. We were talking about this before, where it's like you don't ever want to say no. It's like, oh, this could be a great opportunity, or this could be a great
Yeah.
opportunity, and it's like the whole like fear of missing out thing.
Yes, exactly.
And but eventually you get to the point where, as you grow and as your reputation builds, you're going to have a lot of opportunities that are coming your way. So I know that's certainly been the case with me and with Location Rebel, and with you. As like word gets out, it's like, oh, we've got a really good writer. She knows what she's doing. She can get things done on time. And
Yeah,
the last thing you want to have happen is to all of a sudden not be getting things done on time and hurting your reputation in the process. So it's
exactly.
definitely one of the challenges a lot of like new people face as they're kind of going through this.
Yeah, for
Um, so with all of that said, there's going to be people that are sitting here watching this. They're thinking it's like, oh my god, like is Location Rebel right for me? Is this whole thing a scam? Like, is he for real? Like, what would you say to that person that's on the fence and thinking about joining?
I mean, I would just look them right in the eye and be like, is someone who responds to your emails and is constantly asking what he can do to help, like scamming you? I would say no.
Yeah.
Been there checking in and seeing how things are going with all of the community, as far as I can tell, and especially with me personally. So there's been infinite value found in Location Rebel. And I mean, from making my first money like within a couple of weeks after joining, that for me was just like, I'm in. Okay, this is for real.
Okay, this is for real. This is a good thing.
And when you make that first $15 or $5 or whatever it is, like it's one article, $5, so what? That's momentum. That's the first money that you've made remotely or with writing or whatever your goal is. So just feed off of that. Let it fuel you and keep going. You have to be consistent. Um, and speak up, get in touch with people in the forums and connect with your community, whether it's Location Rebel or whether it's something else. Just put yourself out there, and that's
Yeah.
going to come back to you tenfold. I
Yeah.
mean, it's helped me so much.
Well, you said two things there that I think are really important. And the first one is consistency. It's like
Yes.
the fact that, if you're consistent, like you will see some success. For some people, it takes a couple weeks. For some people, it takes months. For some people, it might take a couple of years. But if you put in
Sure.
consistent effort over a long period of time, like you will have some level of success. And I've seen that. Like, I don't know anyone that's been working at least on average 2 hours a day on their business that hasn't had a certain level of success over a course of a year. So I think
Yeah.
that's really important. And then the second thing you said is speak up. Something that, for people that have watched these videos and for people that have like read all of our content, read the blog, like there's one thing I hope is abundantly clear. It's that we actually legitimately care. Like I care. Like I want to help as many people as possible. And especially with members, it's like every time I'm emailing with them, it's like, hey, what can I do to help you? In the forums, it's like,
Yeah.
what can we do to help grow? And the people that are most successful, by no coincidence, are the ones that speak up. They're the ones that email. They're the ones that are in the forums. They're the ones that ask for
Yeah.
help. Because the whole like solopreneurship thing is not so solo. I think that's kind of
Okay.
an important lesson. Everyone's like, oh, I'm on my own. I'm doing my own thing. But the reality is, when you're doing that and you're doing something that's so against the grain, that's when you need that help and support. And I think that's something that Location Rebel does really well.
Absolutely.
So for someone that's watching this, whether they, they want to email you and just ask you, hey, are you a real person? Whether they want to hire you for writing, like how can
Yeah.
people get in touch with you?
Actually, you can find me at aftertheatlas.com. That's my blog that's pretty personal, but it also has my portfolio on there. So you can get in touch with me through that blog. I write about all kinds of things from slow travel and my experiences trying to live a minimalist life to wellness, all sorts of stuff. So there's a contact page there. Just email me. I'm always trying to get in touch with people who are trying something similar or who just may have a unique story. So just say hey, and I'm happy to answer any questions at all.
Very cool. So we'll link to that below. If for those of you that do end up joining, Natalie's hanging out in the forums. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions, as am I. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Like, I think it's calls like this that are my favorite thing that I do in terms of the marketing or the outreach or whatever for Location Rebel, just because it's real people, it's real stories.
Yeah.
So like hearing someone be like, I saved up for years to go take this trip. I came back, I wasn't sure what I was able to do, and then join Location Rebel, and now I feel like I have the potential to do more of that type of stuff and have that type of freedom. I just think is it's one of the coolest things ever. So I'm glad that everything's worked for you.
Thank you so much. No, I know you know how much this means to me. I can't say you don't know how much this means to me, but yeah, I've always dreamt about making writing my career. I'm doing it anyway. I write in notepads all the time, and I'm doing it anyway. It's what I love to do. Investigative writing, SEO, all of it is enjoyable to me. And just to be able to go from being like an aspiring freelance writer to saying, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing now.
I am a freelance writer. And I think what's cool is that you start with freelance writing, you start with SEO writing, and then it gets really easy to evolve into other things. You can start doing more interesting blog content. You're obviously doing your own blog and building that brand in the process. That's where you can go out and, like, whether you like poetry or whether you want to be a fiction writer or whatever it is, starting this way enables you to spend more time working on those things where it's like, if you want to become a famous poet, obviously it's going to be difficult to make money when you're first starting out. So this kind of gives you that time and freedom and flexibility to really work on the things that you're passionate about. And so I don't know if that relates at all to you, but I've just kind of seen that over and over. For me, it's golf. I love to golf. So by, building these businesses, it allows me the time to do this thing over here. So anyway, it's just kind of exciting.
Yeah, exactly.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you again so much. Like I said, we'll link to our blog below. Leave a comment if you have any questions. But otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out today, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you so much, Sean.
My pleasure.